Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Saturday afternoon. Our speaker today is Dr. Preeti Thyparampil. She's a physician based in Chicago, Illinois, and she will be talking to us today about work-life balance. Thank you so much, Preeti, for joining us, and take it over.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you today. Thank you to speak. It's really a privilege to have the ear of bright young women like yourself. So I wasn't really sure what topic I was qualified to talk with you about, so I told Yagna a little about myself, and she thought work-life balance might be something that I could chat with you about. So it's certainly something that I've thought about a lot over the past few years, especially. And I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in it by any means, but it's something that I've had to think about a lot recently, something that I've had to take into account for my own life decisions over the past few years, and something I've talked a lot with my own friends and colleagues about. Some of the things that have influenced me. So work-life balance is about balance of personal life and career. And so I thought I would give you a little bit of background about myself, about my own personal life and career. I'm 33 years old, and I live in Chicago with my husband, Ajit, and our son, Jacob, who's a year old. We were in Houston before this, where I was doing residency and fellowship, and Ajit and I met during residency, got married during fellowship, and had Jacob during fellowship. And now we live in Chicago, where we have a lot of Ajit's family nearby. I work at Northwestern University as an attending physician in the Department of Ophthalmology, and my specialty is oculoplastic surgery. So I get to see patients in clinic and do surgery and teach residents and medical students. And it's something I find really enjoyable and really gratifying. And I really enjoy going into work every day. Family-wise, Ajit is also a physician. He works at another Chicago area hospital, and our son is a full-time baby. His recent endeavors include learning how to walk. So that's us. And so I've thought about work-life balance kind of in a theoretical sense ever since college, just sort of vaguely keeping it in the back of my mind when I would decide, what do I want to do for a living? What sort of job do I want? And then as time went on, in a more practical sense, I do know that at some point in my life, I would like to have a family, and considering fields of medicine that would bring me personal satisfaction and day-to-day stimulation and enjoyment, but also allow me to be a good wife and mother, and enjoy both aspects of my life. So, as I said, work-life balance is not something I've perfected or an expert in, but it is something that I've thought about. And so I thought I would share words of wisdom from some women that I consider to be great role models, and perhaps very good examples of good work-life balance. And Michelle Obama, I certainly consider to be a great example of a successful professional woman, as well as a successful friend and wife and mother. And so I think I wanted to start with this quote by her, in which she says, "I'm an example of what is possible when girls from the very beginning of their lives are loved and nurtured by the people around them." And I thought this was very relevant because it's not speaking specifically to work-life balance, but just about nurturing yourself, educating yourself, empowering yourself, becoming a confident and self-aware person from a young age as a young woman, because work-life balance is not, it's not a formula. It's not something that suddenly at, age 30 or 35 that you, or 40 or whenever, that you wake up and you say, oh, I have a family, and now let me balance everything, and it's very different for every person what that balance is, what the ratio of work and home life is. It's very different for any given person at different stages of their life. And the only thing that's universal or constant really about figuring out work-life balance is that you have to have a very, very confident and peaceful understanding of yourself and what makes you happy, where you're willing to compromise, what you need at any given time, irrespective of what other people might be doing. And that sort of self-awareness and confidence to make the best decisions for yourself really starts at a really young age. And it starts by, as young women, by being surrounded by people that support you, that teach you that your endeavors are a priority, are really the most important thing to you as a child, and that you should be supported in every possible way. So kudos to you, ladies of Speak, for already pursuing that via organizations such as the one you're involved with, which encourage you to gain a really confident understanding of yourself and empower yourself with education and life skills, so that you are very self-aware and can make the appropriate decisions regarding work-life balance at any given stage of your life. Here's another quote by Michelle Obama, in which she says, empower yourself with a good education, then get out there and use that. And the value of this statement, I think, is in that regardless of what decisions you make later on in your life regarding work-life balance, a strong education only strengthens you in performing that role. Whether you decide to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, a full-time worker, a part-time worker, anywhere in between any of those possible configurations, a strong education gives you a knowledge base, it gives you confidence, it gives you empathy, it enables you to perform any role that you're performing as well as you can. So early on in life, starting at any stage of education, elementary school, high school, college, your drive to get the best possible education should not in any way be hampered by thinking in the future that, oh, I'm not going to need this, I'm not going to use this, I am just going to do this, I'm just going to do that. It doesn't matter what you do. You should pursue your education for a love of your education and a love of the fact that you have that right and that privilege to obtain that education. Because whatever you do in the future, it is empowering to have that. And it opens up your possibilities infinitely. You don't want your future choices to be made for you because of limitations that you have due to education or opportunity. You want the opportunities to be there for you. You want the education to be there for you, so that any choices you make are yours, and they're well informed. And a little bit of a tangent, but I think a very relevant quote for young women, again by Michelle Obama, is this one, in which she says, there's no boy at this age cute enough or interesting enough to stop you from getting an education. If I had worried about who liked me and who thought I was cute when I was your age, I would not be married to the President of the United States. And it's a little bit of a tangent, but just emphasizing that your focus in your early education should be just your education, and that there are other things that are entertaining, that are fun little distractions, but they shouldn't distract you to the extent that they hinder your ability to focus on your education. Um, and she makes a wonderful point that later on in life, of course, it's a credit to make compromises for your loved one, for your family. And that should never be seen as a weakness, but as a strength. But early on, you shouldn't be making sacrifices for anybody in terms of your education. That should be your primary focus, so that again, you have possibilities. You don't have any limitations due to lack of prior education, or lack of possibilities that are open to you. So then that's kind of some really great words of wisdom regarding how to kind of create your early mindset regarding work-life balance. Your initial mindset is all about empowering yourself so that you have all of the knowledge, all of the self-confidence, all of the value in yourself, that you believe you're worthy of a successful career life, are confident to make the decisions you need to make to balance that in any way that you want to balance it, because there's no formulaic balance that works for everybody. So then going on to, well, now you've worked really hard. You've gotten to the point where you can do any number of things. You've gotten yourself through schooling or through training, or whatever sort of preparation it is that is necessary to be a great success in the field that you've chosen. And then you have to consider, well, what do you consider a success, both in that field of that career that you've chosen, and also in the other aspects of your life. And I think that there's a great push in society that success is defined by how much money you make at the end of the day, or how much fame you have, or how many external markers of material success you have. And that all of those things may certainly become available to you, but I think pursuing them in and of themselves will lead to unhappiness and a perceived sense of poor work-life balance, because they don't actually bring you any contentment. As humans, we're social beings, and our biologic happiness comes from social interactions, with social exchanges. And that's why so many religions, so many scientists all encourage us to do acts of service and outward acts, because those are the things that really bring actual contentment. There might be a temptation, especially if you've gone through a lot of hard work to get to where you are, that, you know what, I deserve it at this point to just pursue money for money's sake. And I think trying to resist that urge, and instead define success as experiences and worthwhile interactions, defining success that way is far more fruitful. So that can be any number of things. I can speak mostly about the ways that I'm familiar with, as a teaching physician, getting to teach residents, getting to teach medical students in an academic setting, interacting with patients, getting to laugh with my patients, really come to get to know them, care about them, and their families. That's all very gratifying and makes me enjoy my job at the end of every day in a way that I don't think looking at a number at the bottom of a paycheck could ever do. So you're always keeping those goals in mind. Certainly you want to be able to, take care of yourself and take care of your family. I'm not minimizing those desires as well, but hopefully not to a point where wealth's sake becomes a goal. Of course, easier said than done, but just kind of um, putting it out there is something to think about. So again, two quotes on this issue from two great thinkers, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., not necessarily someone who immediately comes to mind about the topic of work-life balance, but a great thinker, and this is what he had to say: reconsider your definitions. We are prone to judge success by the and relationship to mankind. And along the same vein, Michelle Obama says, success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's lives. And that I genuinely believe that to be true. And I try to remind myself of that regularly when crafting my career life and my personal life. So then there's the question of, so what happens when work-life balance is not being met? And that's what we often hear about, and that's burnout. And that can be burnout in terms of your job. You just feel like your job is burning you out, or burnout at home. You feel like you're not getting enough satisfaction at home. And so Marissa Mayer, the CEO at Yahoo, had this to say about burnout. Burnout is about resentment. Preventing it is about knowing yourself well enough to know what it is that you're giving up that makes you resentful. And so that is a difficult thing to actually accomplish. Knowing yourself well enough is really so critical. I couldn't agree with her more. And that's something that starts early, being a confident person, being a person who's been encouraged since childhood to pursue your goals and be self-aware and aware of other people. That all of that it's a lifelong process. It starts early on and continues your entire life. And burnout and resentment develop mostly as a result, I think, of not knowing yourself well enough or losing track of who you are and pursuing things that don't pay off enough for you in terms of bringing you enough happiness. So, committed to too many hours away from home that it's not bringing you enough happiness, and the what you're missing at home is making you resentful. Or if you're not working enough, you're resenting the accomplishments or stimulation that you had at work and need to return to that a little bit. But whichever way, or at whatever point in your life that you are, to avoid burnout, I think it would be helpful to know yourself, constantly reassess yourself, and make those changes for yourself. I don't think any successful person throughout the course of their career does the same thing from beginning to end. That would be unusual. And I think successful people who are successful at home and successful at work are constantly, as they change, as their family changes, as their work changes, as their industry changes, they're constantly evaluating where they are they happy, what can be done to keep themselves happy and to and as a result, keep their family happy and keep the people around them at work happy. So again, just emphasizing knowing yourself and knowing what you need at any given time, what brings you personal satisfaction at any given time is just so important. So here I have two quotes by Amy Poehler, who, in addition to being hilarious, has a lot of great advice to give for young women. So this top quote is from her book, Yes, Please. And she says, the only way we no one can do it alone, no matter how great the machines are. And what she's referring to here is there's a common myth that's perpetuated by famous people and even by people we know. They're doing everything effortlessly and flawlessly, and there's no help, and then that creates a lot of a lot of kind of doubt and feelings of inadequacy among others, that some people are able to somehow miraculously do everything and juggle everything without any flaws, without a finger of help from anybody else. And that's simply untrue. And I think we do each other a great disservice when we perpetuate that myth that somehow families are exist without any help from others. And that's simply not the case. That's not how we are structured to function as humans, and that's not how we actually function as humans. All people, all families get by with a great deal of help from others, and it's a wonderful thing. That's what makes families happy, that inclusion in society, in a larger family group and in a societal group. So again, Amy Poehler, speaking about herself, gave this speech as part of her, or gave this quote as part of her speech when she was included in Time's 100 Most Influential. And it was so unconventional because among the people that she thanked, usually people thank very other famous people, and she thanked her nannies, that probably some of the people that she sees most often in her life, that her kids see most often in her life, and that is probably true for the majority. And this is what she had to say. She said, "Since I've been at this dinner in 2008, I have given birth to 2 boys, and I've left Saturday Night Live, and I started my own TV show, and it's been a crazy couple of years. And I thought, who besides Madam Secretary Clinton and Lorne Michaels have influenced me?" And it was, excuse me, and it was the woman who helped me take care of my children. It is Jackie Johnson from Trinidad and Dawa Chowdhury from Tibet who come to my house and help me raise my children. And for you working women who are out there tonight and who get to do what you get to do, because there are wonderful people who help you at home, I would like to take this moment to thank those people, some of whom are watching their children right now while you're at this event. Those are the people who love your children as much as you do, and who inspire them and influence them on behalf of every sister and mother and person who stands in your kitchen and helps you love your child. I say thank you, and I celebrate you tonight. I have a cough that I might as well tell you I got from my child. It's a wonderful part of having kids. Is getting all of this. So I'm sorry, I have taken a cough drop, so hopefully it gets better. Help her live her life. having, oh, hello? Okay, now, okay, okay. So I'm so sorry. I don't know when I got muted, but hopefully, while I read these done, because there's a perception um, that's created by a lot of people who are famous, and sometimes by people in our social circle who are not famous, but just want to give the impression that family life is executed flawlessly, single-handedly, um, and that it isn't challenging and that it doesn't require the help of others. Could not be booked to raise a child is in truth. It takes many people, let alone multiple children, and to mothers and have careers takes loving friends, her acknowledge this truth, and in the longer quote, acknowledge her nannies, women who um, take care of her children, be a happy life. And I think it's to um, recognize this as a truth. We can better care of other people's families so that we can be that. We can work for ourselves. It can be ended in, and I'll watch careful in the day. Great network of great are happy and caretakers of him in various times, and we feel so flat out, and we encourage to live that would be critical to our um, as parents and to our success as and so that network can exist in various different forms. It can be school programs, it can be other family members. What these require, and they needing a picture that I've shown is a village that raises my uncle and aunt were the age of, it was a sacrifice that my parents received, immigrating to America, and then one achieved as they that existed, and not the that failure or your height if outside help is actually is been, and it's a happy family. So here's a very true shell, and the most important career decision you'll make. True. Was or so, I a sermon at my church. He said in as part of the most because wrong if you're wrong if you're made structure, but it did. The truth of that age, and it really stuck with me. And in this course, my husband with our son Jacob, um, bliss for hours, born who time of life actually was stay at home to him for life, and that wasn't we had to do. It just that was the best time so that I could complete my fellowship. So, recognizing that he decided to stay home and watch newborn baby for 6 months is not an easy decision. Um, I I still don't know. It's a lot of work. Did it, and I think it reaffirmed visions in each other. It's not something anticipate or getting married. Would you? But knew my husband well enough to know that he had the self-sacrifice and the intelligence and the self-confidence and the family-oriented personality that would do whatever it took to take care of our family, and that he had flexibility, and that basically he has all of those things I was talking about for ourselves. That gives you the vision is best personal happiness. And right, we have a picture that I'm in times just to that days are not all and exhaustion. They're a lot of fun and they're mostly a lot of, but definitely keep at point you get to when you have it's a day or it affects every single aspect of your life because they're the partner that allows you to succeed, to achieve your own goals, and they're the person that you in turn will look forward to making sacrifices for and supporting. And then finally, I have this quote by again Amy Poehler, and it's a very relevant. And she says, "That is the motto women should constantly repeat over and over again. Good for her, not for me." And I think if we can genuinely practice both of those things, we would be very content with whichever work-life balance we find for ourselves. The good for her part, if we can genuinely be happy for the accomplishments, the achievements, the life choices of others, without feeling like they're a reflection of ourselves, of our own failures or inadequacies or anything like that. Everyone, not decisions or because not everyone is different, and acknowledging, knowing, going back and over and knowing yourself well enough, educated and empowered so that you have um, critical that are choose that might not, but still support others while that's it. Here's a picture of my son in a box to conclude. And I just am looking at some questions that I was texted. One question is, how did I choose? How did I choose our social life and school during undergraduate? Um, that's a really, really good question. So undergraduate education is a um, awesome time of life for everyone. It's just so life changing. You become a more well-rounded person. You start to become your adult self. You meet people that will quite likely be in your life for the rest of your life, that might be your friends for life. You meet professors and instructors who are inspiring and can have lasting effects on you. So it's really something that should be taken in and experienced to the fullest. For myself, every point of life in retrospect seems much easier compared to the next point of life. During college, I thought I was studying very hard, and later when I went to medical school, I was like, oh my goodness, I had so much free time and so much time to enjoy myself in college. But so I enjoyed studying a lot. Um, but I definitely had a lot of time. I was at NYU in New York City, so I had a lot of time to really enjoy the city with my friends. We really took advantage of all of the social and cultural things that New York City had to offer. Um, and Also, I got involved with a lot of activities at school, social groups, dance groups, things like that. And I think all of those things should be enjoyed to the fullest. Whatever it is that you enjoy, you should pursue it in college, sports, groups, um, anything like that, while learning how to manage your time and be a good student as well, because that's your primary occupation during that time. So just in a practical sense, I guess, I I know that, at NYU in New York City, there are a lot of opportunities to go out, and I wouldn't say I I went out as much as other people, maybe once a week as opposed to 3 times a week. Um, and so that was my version of being studious, being pre-med and having to take difficult classes and also study for standardized exams. And it was great. I didn't feel limited at all. I had a cohort of friends that was very similar to me, which I think helps a lot. Whatever your goals are, I think it helps to surround yourself with people that are um, pursuing or people that you think, even as your friends, even as that young age, that you would consider role models. They might not need to be doing the same thing you're doing, but I think it really is helpful if they're supportive of your goals and you admire their own habits and you admire their own goals. So I had that fortune. My friends were great role models for being socially active, for being fun people, and for being good students. So I encourage you to seek out the same. And another question I got was, so how did you weigh out your choices when choosing activities? Money may not be everything, but how does someone who's just starting out, like a girl from a first generation background, make the choice between a career that pays well immediately and a cause you're passionate about, or a career with a long road ahead. That's very true. I don't know if I have a great answer for that, other than to say that pursuing something that doesn't really make you happy is, as tempting as it is, it just will not work long term, because it may work in the monetary sense, it may work in the material sense, it just won't work in the happiness sense. Um, and however long you choose to stick it out and try to make up for the lack of satisfaction or contentment with material things, it'll always be like a monkey on your back. And it's far more worthwhile to um, put in the time and effort to be a great success in something that you're excited about. And another person that I didn't quote in this talk, but who I've also found to be a great read and just a entertaining person, is Mindy Kaling, and she's certainly chosen a road that I think is unconventional to um, a lot of Indian American women, but she decided that she was going to be great at it. And the key, I think, is whatever you choose, just to not accept mediocrity at it, to be committed to being excellent at it. And so even if it's unconventional, if you're pursuing it wholeheartedly and with a great deal of skill, and you're confident in the fact that you're working hard and you're producing a good product and deserve to see results, then I think you should expect to. Um, um, any other questions? Okay, for having me. I really honored, flattered, and hope our chat was helpful. Our next speaker series featuring Dr. Yagna Pathak on Saturday, February 25th. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you again, Preeti. Thank you also for introducing me, because I'm going to be the next speaker. And thank you everyone who joined us for this webinar. It was a lovely discussion, and I, for one, do feel more confident in my work-life balance moving forward. So thank you again. And if you guys do have any questions, please reach out to me and I can pass them on to Dr. Thyparampil. And once again, thank you all.